What's good? What's cracking? It's your boy Jalen Wilson. We here with the college football upset. You know, it's LL Cool Brad right next to me.
What's good,
What's
everybody? How
good,
you
LL
doing?
Cool Brad?
Not much, man. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on the show. You know, first time on the show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no
Yup.
problem.
We're doing the college football upset right now. We're gonna be talking about first. We're gonna talk about recruiting,
Yeah,
about the National Signing Day that just passed. Then next, we're gonna get to some of the conference championships, plus a game that's not even a conference championship, but it's still an important game. Then we're gonna get into a little bit of Heisman talk. So we're gonna start out with recruiting. Brad, you want to break down some of the recruits that committed this
sure,
past
man.
week?
Sure, man. For the first recruit, we're gonna talk about Armani Goodwin. He's an LSU commit. He's a running back, 5'9", 185 pounds. His 40-yard dash is a 4.54, which is pretty decent for a high school running back. In his career, he has ran for a total of 3,367 yards off of only 416 carries and 43 touchdowns. He also had one receiving touchdown. He is right now currently ranked as a 4-star, and he is the fifth running back in the nation, which is pretty incredible. I think he's a big sleeper, to be honest with you. I feel like he isn't deserving all his credit that he deserves. Um, his comparison to me, he reminds me a lot of Daryl Henderson. They
Mm,
both for the Rams. They both are around the same height, same weight. They both are usually they are both mainly used for running, but they can catch balls out the backfield if you really need them to. But yeah, they both can run fast and effectively on plays where I think, and they're really patient too. Um, you can see a lot of his runs. He's really patient, and that's really rare seeing that in high school running backs because they
yeah,
usually just go for the long runs instead of just waiting for things to develop and taking the guaranteed yards.
yep,
Um, but yeah, some of his strengths, he has long speed, which means that he can keep the same speed up at when he's going long distances down the field. His pass catching, even though he doesn't catch the ball much, he still can catch it very well. If you watch his highlights too, he's very good at juking people out. He's very good at making people miss. He breaks at least two tackles every single run, which is just amazing to see. The one weakness I would say is his stiff arm. He could be a little better with that. But other than that, he's looking like a great recruit. What do you think about that, Jim?
yeah. Um, well, I like the fact that you say he's a patient running back. He waits for his blocks to develop. That's always a good thing with running back because you never want a running back too much because you always want your blocks to develop as a running back. But I also heard this past week that Alabama flipped two commits. Is that a big deal?
It is. It really is. They flipped Jojo hold up, what's his name? Jojo Early.
Yeah.
They flipped him and then they flipped. I forget the other name that they flipped, but he's the number one that they flipped. Um, the next guy we're gonna talk about though is Jay Garcia. He's a Miami commit. He was projected early in his recruitment to go to USC, but he just switched all his recruiting and now he is a Miami commit. I really like that he went there. He fits their style of play very well. He's a pro style quarterback. He's 6'3", 195. 40-yard dash is 4.99, which is pretty. He's more of a pocket passer, so that's more expected. His shuttle is a 4.84, and his vert is a 27.5 inch. In his career, he has thrown 3,957 yards off of 259 pass completions out of 382 and 43 touchdowns. In his career, though, one of the downsides is he has thrown 12 picks, which is not bad, but it could be always better. He is rated a 4-star at the moment. He is ranked 5 overall for pro style quarterbacks in the 21 class in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to work on his completion percentage just a little bit. His current
That's
completion
important.
percentage, well,
Completion percentage is important.
mhm. um, he needs to work on that a little bit. His completion percentage at the moment is 67.8%, which isn't the best. Could be better. My comparison for him is Ryan Tannehill, and I really
Ooh.
like that too. because both of them are pocket passers. They can run if you need them to get a few yards for maybe a first down, maybe third and two-ish. They can run and get that easy. But if you're talking about you want them to do like a QB draw, that's gonna get you absolutely nothing. Um, but yeah. Anyways, because Garcia and Tan, that they reminds me of Ryan Tannehill because both of them aren't big scramblers, like I just said. But yeah, if they break out a good run once in a while, like 10, 15 yards, you can expect that from them once in a while. But both of them are mainly pocket passers, and they don't throw best on the run. You see that in the NFL most times too. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, he can throw very accurate deep balls too, and so can Tannehill. But yeah, in some of his strengths is his arm strength. Like I said, he can throw very, very accurate deep passes, which will make him very, very dangerous for Miami next season because they have very good wide receivers. Um, his pocket presence is really good as well. Just needs to work on his scrambling just a little bit and being able to break tackles because whenever people get through his offensive line, which his offensive line at his high school was really, really good. Um, and they didn't get many sacks against they did not let up many sacks, which was good for him. But he's a
Yeah.
very decent QB, I think, and I feel like he will fit with Miami's game plan really, really well.
Mm. Can I give you a comparison to him in college?
Yeah.
Uh, 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 um, Whenever you said Ryan Tannehill, for some reason, my mind instantly went to Jake Fromm,
Oh wow. Yeah.
quarterback less than a year ago. Yeah, recording a little bit. Not close. I mean LSU. Sorry. Yeah, I want to talk about LSU recording. LSU had like a little bit of a down. They had a big down year. Not a little bit. They had a big down year.
Yeah.
Do you feel like because I believe they have the number 4 class in the nation?
Hmm.
Do you feel like that can help them to regain where they were at just last year?
Absolutely. They just brought in a good. They just brought in some good recruits. They brought in Mason Smith. We're not gonna talk about him though. We're just mainly talking about some other positions. But he's a big recruit they brought in yesterday. 5-star defensive tackle. He looks really really good as well. But yeah, they brought him in yesterday. They had like you said, they had the fourth best recruiting class in the nation. Um, it's gonna really help them get back on track because they've been recruiting a lot of defensive players too, because their defense is just terrible. They're allowing at least 25 every single game, and that cannot happen.
It
Um,
can't.
and their defense has just been weak. Um, and there's a lot of freshman guys. There's not many veteran guys still there because they all left for the draft. So you just got to take that in consideration. But yeah, I feel like that's really going to help them. Um, but our next recruit we're going to talk about is Donovan.
Um.
What were you going to say?
Go ahead.
All right. So our
You,
next recruit we're going to talk about is Donovan Edwards. He's a Michigan commit. He just committed to Michigan. I've been following him a lot. I've been following him a lot this year. He has been projected to go to Michigan since at least the beginning of the year. It just took him so long to commit because I remember reading an article about him and it said he wants to learn. He wants to learn how the coaches run things, and he wants to get to know them better before that he actually makes the decision. Which I mean that is true with a lot of recruits, but he really thinks so. Really thought about his decision a lot. Notre Dame and Georgia were very talked about as well in his recruitment, but he committed to Michigan. He's a running back, 5'11", 195 pounds. His 40-yard dash is a 4.4, which is really really good as a running back. His shuttle, I could not find that. And he has a 33-inch vertical, which is really good for a running back. That means he can hurdle a lot of people. I could not find his full career stats, but for the 2020 season, despite his season being cut short by 3 games, he was still able to run the ball for 882 yards out of 104 carries, which is incredible. That's just mind blowing. He also ran for 18 touchdowns, which is awesome. Which is not short of incredible. Donovan is ranked as a 4-star and is the fourth best running back in the country right now. And in Michigan, he scored big. And for Michigan, I think that they scored big here. Um, with Donovan, he looks like a very, very complete running back, one of the best I've seen this year by far. Um, and he looks like he could just start day one. Period. There's no doubt in my mind he can. He has speed. He can juke effectively. And if you are one on one with him, just know you're not gonna beat it. You're not gonna win that battle. You're just not. He unlike the first guy that we were talking about for LSU, he actually waits and he's a patient running back, which is really rare that you see in the high school level. He takes the guaranteed yards instead of the long run, which is very, very good. My comparison for him is Alvin Kamara, and
Ooh.
I like that a lot too because they're both same size, same weight, around the same what you want to call it, the exact same 40-yard dash, same inch vertical. They're very, very similar in a lot of ways. They're very, very good pass catchers too, and that's one of the things I took in consideration while I compared them. Um, and they that's one of the main reasons I picked them for the comparison because they can both receive the ball pretty good. Even though I couldn't find those for that, you if you watch Donovan Edwards highlights, you can see how good he is at catching the ball and making people miss in the backfield, and that's what
Mhm.
makes both of them so dangerous. And they both can run the ball effectively as well. So that's why I
Hey.
picked that. But yeah, seriously, I think that Michigan has something brewing in the 2021 class. They got JJ McCarthy. They got uh, Xavier Worthy. They got a lot of guys that are coming in, and I feel like Michigan's gonna be improve everybody wrong next season.
Well, keeping the topic on the Big Ten, uh, with Ohio State being second, how so? What's your take from that? Because I know Michigan and Ohio State are only the two top 10 teams in the Big Ten. Should the Big Ten be worried? The rest of the Big Ten teams be worried about Ohio State like being so up there in the class rankings?
Absolutely. They got a very good quarterback, dual threat quarterback, and they got a very good running back, the best running back in the 2021 class. But they should be scared. I think that they should be scared. Do I think the dual threat quarterback that they got is going to be better than Justin Fields? No,
Ooh, hot take.
no, just no. I don't think that Ohio State's going to have another QB that's going to be better than Justin Fields in the next 15 years.
Hey, dude, should, well, what you just said, he either age like wine or age like milk.
Hmm.
You always want the age like wine, though. My last question, my last question I want to get is, uh, three of the top five classes are deep south teams. You have Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. Uh, well, Clemson is there too. I don't know if you want to consider them deep south. If you do, that's 4 out of 5. But does that so what did that tell you? Like did that tell you like the SEC like dominating because most of the talent comes from deep south teams.
Hey, Moon Vibes. I know you're in this call with us right now. That was him, man. He was the one who said this. He said that he predicted. I've been seeing it too. That all the deep south schools are getting most of the recruits, and that's true because the SEC is the most watched. Deep South, it's a religion basically. It's the
Uh,
most watched conference in the college football. Period.
yeah. And the SEC is it's a very top heavy. You got teams like Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Auburn, Texas A&M. It's very top heavy. It's not like
Hmm.
bottom, middle. Like it's very good teams at the top compared
Yep.
to like other uh conferences like the Big Ten and Big 12.
Yep.
Uh, you want to add something before we go on to the next topic?
Oh, we got one more recruit. We got
Oh,
one more. Or actually, no, we actually got two more. Sorry about that. We got two more.
oh, it's all good.
Um, A, so the next recruit we got is Xavier Sori, and I know Moon Vibes is happy about this one. He's a Georgia commit. He is an outside linebacker, 6'3", 214 pounds. His 40-yard dash is a 4.47. His shuttle is unknown, and he has a 34-inch vertical. His 2020 stats were only 47 total tackles. That was it. Now I feel like this guy is getting too way too hyped up since he's just from IMG Academy. I'm sorry, but I just feel like he is. If you're only recording 47 solo tackles in a season, and that's it, like, I don't know, man. I just don't. I have seen 3 stars record 80 tackles and 5 sacks in a season. I just don't think he's as good as people think, and I don't think he's gonna live up to the hype in college. Don't see him really doing much in at Georgia, and I see him going undrafted. I really don't have a comparison for him because he hasn't really produced much um in high school, so it's just hard to make a comparison for him right now. I think he's one of the worst 5 stars I've seen in a while. No offense. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm just saying. But the
Hey, it's
next,
all good. It's
yeah, but yeah, okay. So
go
the
ahead.
next,
Sorry.
well, what were you gonna say, Joe?
Oh, I ain't saying anything. I said go ahead.
All right, all right,
Oh, just go.
all right. So the next guy that we got is JoJo Early. He's an Alabama commit. He's a wide receiver. He's 5'9", 170. 40-yard dash is a 4.39. And his shuttle is a 4.28. And he has a 37-inch vertical at 5'9". He is It's very impressive considering his height. His career stats are 149 receptions for 2,691 yards and 31 touchdowns. Note this for a second. Remember those stats for a second. Also, he has carried the ball 97 times for 827 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns. I really think this guy. I really think this guy is a really good player. I really like him. But why this guy is, he can play running back or wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And he recently just started being a wide receiver. His junior year, he started being a wide receiver. So all those stats you saw for wide receiver were in 2 seasons, which is incredible. And then those rushing stats were in 2 seasons, which isn't bad. Um, but I really like this guy. But he switched. He flipped from from LSU. He was one of the guys that LSU lost over this the on Wednesday, so that wasn't good for them. But this guy is going to be an incredible guy. My comparison for him is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill.
Oh,
Tyreek Hill. Because both of them were running backs at one point. You guys might not know it, but Tyreek Hill at Garden City, before transferring to Oklahoma, he was a running back. Not many people know that, but he played running back for some of his time one season, and he did pretty good with it as well. And that brings me in, like, that's just incredible. Just looking at the stats, they're so sim, simil, similar. Sorry, I
similarities.
just couldn't say that word. Similar.
It's all good.
They everything looks the same. Like their vert, everything looks the same. Their height, their weight, everything looks exactly the same, except for one thing, and that is the 40-yard dash. If they raced, he would get cooked. Joe Early would get cooked. It's just a known fact. Um, even though it's a really good 40 time coming out of high school with a 4.39, that's incredibly fast. Tyreek Hill's is a 4.29, which is incredibly fast. Um, and really think that JoJo is a second coming of Tyreek Hill. And I feel like he's only going to play a 3-year career at Alabama and get drafted in the middle of the second round of the 2024 NFL draft. And
Um,
that's the last recruit, man.
uh, so that's all for recruiting.
Yep.
Okay, so that leads us to our next topic, and that's going to be the Texas A&M versus Tennessee game. Let's go to it. So for this game, this Texas A&M Tennessee game, this is an important game. I say this is an important game just because if Texas A&M wins it and other teams lose, Texas A&M could make it to the playoffs. And if if Texas A&M loses this, they're out the playoffs, and it's gonna be it's gonna be, and things are gonna fall in place how other teams said it. You know, other teams were like, oh, they aren't as good of a team, they aren't top five. Uh, this is a very important game for Tennessee. I mean Texas
Well, hold
A&M.
up,
Sorry.
Jalen. Hold up, real quick. You said that Texas A&M chances of playoffs are going to be ruined. But did you
Yeah, if
see
they
what just
lose.
happened? Did you just see what the committee did with Florida? They only moved them down one spot after getting upset by the LSU, an unranked LSU team. Like what are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts about that is I don't like it because LSU was at a third string quarterback. They were down, I believe, 20 or 30 players at that point. It was a bad loss. I thought they should have bumped them down to at least 9. But I
Eh,
think they only kept them in just because if somebody lose, say if Florida beats Alabama and then Clemson loses, then they could put Florida in that 4th spot.
And I don't like it at all because all it is for the money. Nobody wants to see Cincinnati or Iowa State go into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Period. Nobody does. It's just because of the money. It's just proven. SEC teams get special treatment for anything, pretty much. I mean, like I bet you if LSU went maybe 9-3, they would still make the playoff. Well, not make the playoffs, but they would make a New Year's Six bowl or something.
Mhm. That happens. So with this Texas A&M Tennessee game, it's important. So what's like a key matchup you're looking for in this game?
Key matchup is Tennessee's defense trying to stop Texas A&M's run game. They have a very, very effective run game, and that's what they use. Isaiah Spiller is Texas A&M's running back, and they have done really good this season with him. He has ran 897 yards, and earned fit out of 151 rushing attempts.
Hmm.
So that's one of the key matchups I'm looking for, and how Tennessee can lock him down potentially in this game.
Uh, um. So do you think this would be like a competitive game? I know Tennessee has had some bad games early in the season. Do you think it would be competitive?
I do from I honestly do. I feel like this is gonna be a closer game than a lot of people expect. The over under is 51 points. I do say it's gonna be a higher scoring game. It's gonna be closer though than people think. I have Texas A&M with a short victory with a last second touchdown from Isaiah Spiller. He's just locked up all game, and Isaiah Spiller just breaks one out for a game-winning touchdown. And I got Texas A&M winning 38-31.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think this may be a competitive game because I don't think Texas A&M is that good of a team. They're not a top 5 team if you ask me. I think they're going to struggle. So don't be surprised if Tennessee pulls out the win. I just think Texas A&M is going to win just because their talent is so much better. Uh,
And
I
some
don't
of
really have no score prediction.
Yeah, and some of my keys for this game for Tennessee is they had to stop Isaiah Spiller in the run game though. That's one of the main ones. And Tennessee also needs to get their offense going early because once Texas A&M's defense gets into a rhythm of stopping offenses, it's very hard to get yards against them and move the ball. Texas A&M has forced a lot of three and outs this season. It is just once they get stops, like you just cannot get past that defense. So
Yeah.
they have to bring their A game on offense.
Hmm. So before we move on to the next topic, I want to ask you: do you feel like if Texas A&M wins this game, and like a team ahead of them loses, do you feel like they can get into the playoffs?
Yes. So for right now, Texas A&M would need Florida to beat Bama, Northwestern to upset Ohio number 4 Ohio State. They need number 2 Notre Dame to beat number 3 Clemson, and last but not least, they need number 10 Oklahoma to beat number 6 Iowa State.
Yep, that's what I had too earlier. It's definitely they're going to definitely need some luck and
Hmm.
for some teams to beat some other teams. That Iowa State and Oklahoma game will be a key matchup that Texas A&M will need to pay attention to.
Hey, watch the committee just move Texas A&M to the 4 spot for no reason. Just I just feel like it's gonna happen, and a lot of people are just not gonna care. I just think it's gonna happen. But
I
moving,
mean, I think it all comes down to what teams in front of them lose.
yeah,
Uh, is that all you have for the Tennessee Texas A&M game?
yep.
Okay, so that leads us to our next game, the Cincinnati versus Tulsa game. This is an important game for Cincinnati. They moved down 2 spots in 2 weeks because they haven't played in 2 weeks. But even though Ohio State hasn't moved down in 2 spots in 2 weeks, even though they haven't played in 2 weeks, this is an important game. Tulsa is ranked 23, so this could be Cincinnati's chance to prove themselves as their first win against a top 25 opponent. Well, so how do you feel about the committee actually bumping them down 2 spots?
Well, it's just like the Steelers. Nobody believes in them, but I mean that's for a good reason. But anyways, do I like it? No. Is there a choice? No. Um, does the committee care? No. Do they want more money? Yes. It's just the simple algorithm. They just want the more money that they can get. So that's why I don't like it, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and with them not they bumped Cincinnati down 2 spots in 2 weeks, and they didn't bump Ohio State down. Did that show like inconsistency with this committee?
What was the question again? Sorry about that.
Oh, so with Cincinnati getting bumped down 2 spots in 2 weeks and Ohio State not, does that show like a lot of inconsistency and bias with the committee?
Absolutely. And you saw it too because the Big Ten had to make a special rule for Ohio State to be able to play in the championship game.
Hey,
That just proves it right there. Like all they want is the more money, and that just further proves that point. They just want more money.
hey, money makes the world go round. So with the Cincinnati and Tulsa game, do you got like any stats you want to read off to us?
So I want to actually look at their season last season. They're both of their seasons. So both teams last season had a outstanding breakout season this season. If you take a look at Cincinnati's record last season, they still went with a really good record of 11-3, which is very
Hmm.
outstanding. But Tulsa is having a really Cinderella year. Last year they went 4-8 in the conference USA. And I really think this is just they really need this is like what they needed this year. They have really proved themselves, and it's just incredible to see.
So do you have like any key matchups for this game?
Um, I would say it would have to be it would have to be Tulsa. Tulsa has to move the ball effectively because Cincinnati only allows 15 points per game on defense, which is top 5 in the league, which is incredible. Only 15 points a game. Like that's just unheard of. I haven't seen that low of allowed in a long time. So yeah, I would just have to say that Tulsa that's one of my matchups that I'm looking for is Tulsa's defense versus Cincinnati's defense.
Yeah, the Cincinnati defense is really good. Luke Fickle's doing wonders over there.
Mhm.
Do you feel like even if Cincinnati wins it, do you feel like the committee will show them respect and bump them up a couple spots?
No, I don't. I honestly they feel like they'll drop back a spot. I just do.
Mm.
I just feel like they will because of all the teams that'll win. Especially if Oklahoma wins, then I feel like they're gonna move down a spot. So it I feel like that's what it is. But going to Cincinnati's defensive coordinator, do you think he's gonna go head to the NFL next season?
I think it all depends on what team is calling him and what position they're giving him. Because they giving him defensive coordinator, probably not. If they're giving him a head coach position, oh, if I'm him, I'm jetting out the door the second our last game is over.
Yeah.
Uh, but I also want to ask this question. So it's been 9 teams so far to drop out of bowl games, and that's a lot. Uh, do you feel like if Cincinnati wins this game and the committee bumps them down, will they drop out of a bowl game?
No, I don't think so. It's just too big. They've just came too far. And I get with all this COVID stuff, but I don't know if you played a whole season already. I don't get why you would drop out right at the finish line. You're right there. You're gonna play a bowl game for something that you've been working for all season. I get it's COVID. Yes, I get that 100%. But you've played this whole season. Violet was getting worse and worse and worse. So I just don't understand it.
Yeah. So I want to get your score prediction and who do you have winning the game?
My score for the over under actually it's 45 points. I do think it hits that. I feel like this is gonna be a blowout, just a complete blowout by Cincinnati. I don't even think Tulsa has a chance. I'm sorry, but I just don't see it. Final score 56-24 Cincinnati.
Mm.
Um, and did you want my playoff scenarios for Cincinnati?
Sure, you can give them to us.
So they would need Iowa State to lose to Oklahoma, Florida to be banned. It's basically the same thing as the what do you want to call it? The Texas A&M. It's basically the exact same thing.
So do you feel like if Oklahoma wins, do you think Oklahoma will jump them?
Cincinnati, yes, I do. I feel like they'll go to the number 7 spot or the number 8 spot.
Yeah, same with me. Well, before we go to our next topic, I want to say this. I think Tulsa is going to win. I don't have no score prediction. I think Tulsa is going to win by at least between 7 to 10 points. Don't be
Wow.
surprised. I think Tulsa's good. Last time I watched Cincinnati, they struggled against UCF. UCF is a good team. I think Tulsa's a good team. So don't be surprised. But that leads us to our next game with
That's a bold
Iowa.
prediction.
Huh?
That's a bold prediction, man.
Yeah. Some people got Cincinnati winning. Um, but that leads us to our next game with Iowa State versus Oklahoma. Big 12 championship. So Oklahoma lost to Iowa State early in the season. I don't remember the score. I remember Iowa State beating them by a touchdown. I believe it was in the lines of 37-30.
I think that was right.
Uh,
Yep.
do you feel like the committee has they bumped Iowa State up a little bit too much because they went from 19 to 11 to 6 in a span of 2 weeks.
I feel like they're just trying to make another team feel special. They're just trying to make another team feel special, and then the next week they're gonna be bumped up to number 10. Watch it happen.
Uh, um, even if they win, I'm telling you, man. so after this game, so after Iowa State beat Oklahoma, Oklahoma won a tear. Oklahoma has been on a winning streak ever since. They haven't lost. Do you feel like that's a good thing going against this Iowa State team? That they have been on a winning streak. Do you feel like it gives them confidence?
Yes, but I feel like they should have done better against Baylor. They only won by 13. Yes, I know that's two scores, but I feel like they should have still been better in that game. In Baylor, I think they've won maybe one game this season. Um, I just don't think they're ready for Iowa State, to be honest.
Do you have any like key matchups for this game?
It would have to be Iowa State versus Oklahoma's defense because Iowa State's bread and butter is running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
With Brees Hall, who has rushed for 1,357 yards this year off of 222 rushing attempts at 17 touchdowns. But Oklahoma's defense absolutely just specializes in stopping the run. They only allow 88.1 yards rushing per game, which is incredible. Um, that's just really incredible for a college football team to only allow 88 rushing yards a game. Like that's just incredible.
Yeah, when I watch Oklahoma, I'm like, this defense is a lot better than the past 3 years prior to this year.
Yep.
Like this defense is clearly improved. Shout out to Lincoln Riley and the defense coordinator for improving this defense. It was much needed.
Mhm.
So with Iowa State, do you feel like if Iowa State wins this and like say Florida loses and Clemson loses, do you feel like they can jump Texas A&M and get into the playoffs?
No, because they're just another special team.
so
I'm
so
just
so
gonna
you
stick
think
with it.
so you think the committee is just putting them there just to put them there?
Yep, they're just trying to make the fans all excited, and then it's just gonna go away.
They might actually do that.
Hey, it's
You
the
got to
same with
score.
US. It's the same with USC. See, they're number 13, and what's the score right now? If you still have that
Um, I
game up, like
I don't have that game up still. Last time I checked, it was 31-17. 8 minutes
exactly.
left. They were struggling. Uh,
See, it's just that's all it is, man. It's just feeling, just making the fans all routed up, and then next week it's gone. You know.
hey, it wouldn't be the first time. Do you have do you have like a score prediction for this game?
I do. I feel like it's gonna be a low scoring game. The actual over under is 58 points. I don't see it coming anywhere near that. I feel like the final score is 21-16 Iowa State. I think it's just a lower scoring game because
Mm.
Oklahoma's going to be taking away their bread and butter, which is running the ball with Brees Hall. So I just think that it's going to be a low score affair here.
Do you think Oklahoma can get into the playoffs if they win and some chaos happens up front?
Mm, you would have to do the research about how much money they make per game. That's the real key right there.
Saying it's all about the money, huh?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna stick with it.
Hey, I don't blame you for saying that. Uh, I think Oklahoma's going to win this. I think Oklahoma's on a hot streak right now. I think their offense is clicking, defense is clicking. I think it's going to be maybe a two-score game. So
Oh
somewhere in the
yeah.
lines between 42 to 28. So I won't. So don't be surprised if you see it be in a shootout a little bit because it is the Big 12.
I
Uh,
had something else to add. I
oh,
could
go
see
ahead.
both. I have a bold take for both QBs. I feel like Spencer Rattler, and Iowa State's QB. I forget his game. Sorry about that, but I feel like they're gonna both throw two picks, and they're gonna pass for under 250 yards.
Mm. I don't know about Spencer Rattler just because I think Oklahoma offense is too good for him to pass less than 250 yards. Oklahoma does like to run the ball sometimes, though. They do like to run the ball a lot sometimes. So
Mhm.
it's possible. It's possible.
I got
Uh,
coyotes. I got coyotes barking outside right now, man.
that all you got for this game?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so that's gonna lead us to our next game with the Big Ten championship. Northwestern at Ohio State or versus Ohio State because it's not really in Columbus. Uh, Northwestern, they're ranked 14th.
Yep.
They're not that good of a team, if you ask me. Their defense is great. Offense sucks.
Yeah.
Ohio State, number 4 team in the nation, hasn't played in 2 weeks. Do you feel like that could affect them? They're going to be rusty.
Somewhat yes, and somewhat no. I feel like that Ohio State has just been taking days off and they haven't been fully preparing for this game. I feel like that they're just too cocky sometimes and that they get ahead of themselves. I'm not just saying that because I hate Ohio State. I've just seen it in action before.
Hey,
I just feel like they're not going to be prepared, and they're not gonna be like fully prepared. Just like Mahomes wasn't against the Miami Dolphins just like last week. I know that's an NFL game, but that's just like sort of like the same thing.
yeah, it happens a lot. I remember Nick Saban making a speech one day against a. It was back in 2000. I want to say 15.
Hmm.
When they still had Derrick Henry and everything. Because I was watching like a little documentary type thing on YouTube the other day, and he
Yeah.
was like, "No matter what, we're gonna treat a team like they have a good D1 quarterback, a good D1 defense, a good D1 offense, and a good D1 coach."
And that's a
So
great coach right there.
he basically saying, don't sleep on this team just because they're not us.
Hmm.
So I think that's important. It is important what you said. 'Cause I do think lots of teams tend to sleep. I do think that happens to Ohio State a lot. Like I believe it was JT Barrett's last year where they slept on Iowa. Iowa
Yep.
smacked them one game, and it was the Dwayne Haskins years too, where they lost to Purdue, and I feel like they just slept on Purdue. So
Hmm.
it happens a lot with Ohio State. It just happens a lot.
Yeah.
With this Northwestern team, do you have like something to look out for?
Um, Not really. I feel like they're a little bit overrated in my opinion. They play mainly closer games in the season. I just feel like they're a bit overrated. Um,
Go ahead.
Nah. I was done.
Oh, well, if that's the case, I would have to agree. I would have to agree with you. I feel like their offense struggles. Um, if their defense is not turning the ball over, the defense is still good. But when they beat Wisconsin, they got five turnovers. They forced five turnovers that game. It was
Yeah.
such an important game because their offense couldn't score. The offense is going to need to score this game.
Yeah.
So what's a key matchup in this game for you?
Key matchup. This game I didn't really have one to be honest with you. Well, no, actually I did. I just thought of one. Just not letting Justin Fields being able to get out of the pocket. They need Northwestern needs to put a lot of pressure on Justin Fields and needs to do it from the start. If they can't get through that offensive line, it's game over. I'm sorry. Like it just is. You have to get through that offensive line to beat Ohio State.
Yeah, and you need to get pressure on the quarterback because if you don't get pressure on the quarterback, he has all that time to throw. The receiver has all the time to create space. It's always important to get that pressure. Um, Ohio State, do you feel like even if they win, they could get bumped up out the playoffs just because they have only 6 games played after they play this game?
I just don't. I don't. I don't think they're gonna knock him out because I feel like they're making the more money. I feel like they're making money, man. I feel like they're making a lot of money for the NCAA, and I that's why they made that special rule for them in the Big Ten, and that's why they're still in the top four with only playing 5 games. Because
Okay.
if you look at the top four right,
So
if you look at the top four right now, you got Alabama, you got Clemson, you got
uh-huh.
Notre Dame. Like that's just money for them, you know. But anyways, what were you saying? Sorry about that.
Um, so with this Northwestern offense struggling and the Ohio State secondary struggling, do you feel like Northwestern should take some shots down the field? I feel like Indiana did that a lot. Do you feel like well, Indiana did that like against Ohio State? Do you feel like Northwestern should do that against Ohio State too?
I think so. It just depends on how. Can you restate the second half of your question? You were buffering a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I sorry
It's all
that I asked. Do you feel like Northwestern should throw should throw the ball down the field a lot because Ohio State seems to struggle with that.
yep, yep. And I actually was talking about that in my notes. But yeah, I feel like they should do that from the get-go as well. Like their first possession, they got to go deep. Um, they got to start going deep. I feel like Ohio State. Yep, you were saying that they struggle with it. I feel like that too. I feel like their corners are more man-to-man guys, or zone. Just how it depends on like what you're lining up in. But I feel honestly, I feel like they're more zone because they get beat a lot on short routes and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like they should go deep.
Mm. I don't think there's any way Northwestern could get into the playoffs. Do you think there's any way Northwestern can get into the playoffs? They're ranked 14th, so
No,
I don't think it is. Yeah.
sadly no.
Do you have a score prediction for this game?
Score prediction. I hold up. Score prediction. Final. I have a bold take too. I got I got Justin Fields for over 300 and a few touchdowns. And I got for my final score 49-27 Ohio State.
Mm. Um, my final score for this game probably be Ohio State 55, Northwestern 17. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a blowout. Um, if anything, y'all could turn it off by the second half, second quarter. Uh, so yeah, I just think it's going to be a blowout. Brad, you think it's really going to be a blowout too? I think Northwestern going to struggle. But is that all you got for this game?
Yeah, I believe so.
Um, That's going to lead us to our next game with Florida versus Alabama. This is a good game. It's supposed to be a good game. You have Florida dropping down one spot after losing to LSU last week. They dropped down to 6 to 7. Alabama stayed at one after a win against Arkansas. Do you feel like the committee should have bumped LSU down a little bit more?
Um Florida, yeah, I feel like they should have bumped Florida down a little bit more. Absolutely. It's just stupid why they didn't. I feel like it's just more for the crowds and the fans really. And just trying to get them hyped up to and possibly like just keeping the hope alive so then they keep watching the games because a lot of what tends to happen is a lot of SEC team, what you want to call it, fans, after they start losing a lot, they just stop watching. Like that's what some of it. Like my friends, they're SEC fans. They just switch teams completely. They used to like a team in the SEC, now they don't because they kept losing. So I think it's just that.
Does it concern you that Florida lost last week to LSU and Alabama beat LSU a week before that, 55-17? Like, did that concern you about this Florida scheme?
Absolutely, it's just based around Kyle Trask. That's it. Um, and I know I've said that he's going to be a really good quarterback, but I'm actually switching that. I really don't think he's going to be that good of a quarterback now because I feel like it's just the offensive line that carries him. I feel like that's the case. We've seen that with a lot of NFL good college players. Manziel, he could use his legs. I don't think Trask can as much, but you can see with a lot of recent college football players that they get carried a lot by their offensive linemen. Yes, they are good in college, but it is definitely harder in the NFL. Um, yeah, it really does concern me because they just don't run the ball at all. They're like the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NFL. Sorry, the NCAA. They just don't run the ball.
do,
They
you-
haven't
do you
run.
do you have like any interesting stats for this game?
Interesting stats. One interesting stat would be that the over under for this game is 74.5 points,
Mm,
which is like the highest I've seen this season. Like that's just super high.
yeah.
Um, what were you gonna say?
Oh well, this is two high scoring offenses, so it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and I was just about to say they both average about 40 a game too, over 40 a game too. So which that is pretty dang good. And Alabama's rush defense has sacked QBs 52 times this season, which is just incredible. It's one of the best defense I've seen in college football in a long while. Um, Alabama only gives up 113 rushing yards a game, but luckily that's their best defensive thing. Their best defensive, what their defense mostly stops the most, and that's good for Florida because their offense is based around Kyle Trask, basically. Um, Florida's running back, he doesn't have over 600 yards this year, so that just proves that right there. My keys for this game for Florida somehow winning this is lock down Devontae Smith. This guy is on the verge of possibly being the first wide receiver ever to win a Heisman. We'll talk about that in our next segment. But that's just, you got to lock him up. He can cook anybody in the college football world right now. He could probably cook some NFL cornerbacks as well. He could probably cook I know I gotta put respect on some of their names, but he could probably cook like Joe Hayden. Honestly, I'm not even gonna joke.
He
Um,
he he probably can cook Tre'Davious White.
yeah,
Um, do you feel like that Florida will use what Arkansas did? Because Arkansas they doubled him basically the whole game. He only had 22 receiving yards. Do you feel like they would try to do that to try to stop?
yeah, I do believe that too. They're gonna have to go to Kyle Pitts a lot too. I think. Kyle Pitts. I believe he's coming back this week. Is he coming back, Jalen? Do you know or not?
Yeah, he said he's playing.
Okay, yeah, because last week they missed him a lot. If Kyle Pitts was playing last week, I don't think that LSU would have won. But anyways, but yeah, I feel like they're gonna lock him up pretty easily, and that he's just gonna go to his other reliable tight end, Kyle Pitts.
Mm. Uh, so with Alabama, do you feel like this will be like their first like true test to their defense? Because I know earlier in the season they got torched by Ole Miss a little bit. Ole Miss scored 48 on them, but they still won the game. Do you feel like this will be like a good test for their defense heading into the playoffs?
I don't. Do I think that Florida's gonna win this game? No. Do I think it's gonna be somewhat of a challenge in the first half? Yes. Second half, no. I feel like whenever Alabama plays a team, they always the first half is a bit slow, but after the first half is over and the second half just starts, it's just ball game every single time. Like they know exactly what they're gonna do, what plays they're gonna run. They just stop it all.
Hmm.
And yeah, I feel like that's what's gonna be the case this time too. And I could see Kyle Trask throwing like 3 picks because of the
Oof.
pass rush. Christian Barmore. I had him in my mock draft for our weekly preview a few weeks back. He can get to any quarterback and through any offensive line. He could go through it in practice. He can probably get to the quarterback easily. Mac Jones pretty easily too. So I would not be surprised if Kyle Trask throws at least 3 picks and gets sacked a few times too. I wouldn't be.
And them 3 picks would cut him out the Heisman race.
Uh, yeah.
Do you so with this game? Do you feel like if Florida wins and like say Clemson loses, do you feel like they can be number 4 in the playoffs?
Um, if Florida wins,
Yes.
um, yes, because it's the SEC. I feel like Florida could actually. I don't know. I just feel like Florida, even though they would get carried, still getting into the playoffs again. I feel like they could actually do something and get to the national title for some reason. I just feel
Hmm.
like they could. I just feel like without Kyle Pitts, it's kind of like this. So like Clemson, even though they didn't have Trevor Lawrence, they still lost the game. I feel even though their backup was super good, I feel like he Trevor Lawrence is just a true leader, like a very good leader, and you don't find that like the leadership that they both have in in many players in the college football. I feel like Kyle Pitts and him are very similar of how they approach things and how they make decisions. So
Do you have like a little score prediction for this game?
um, I got a final score 50-35 Alabama.
Ooh, that's a high scoring game. I don't really have a score prediction. I just think Alabama's going to win it by 2 touchdowns. I think Alabama will try to have Devontae Smith open, and I think, like Brad said, he will be locked up this game. I think John, I think his name is John Mechie. His last name is Mechie for sure.
Hmm.
He will have a big day. I do think Alabama will win. But is that all you got to say for this segment for
Yeah.
this game?
Yep.
That's all. Uh, that leads us to our next game: Clemson versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame is ranked number 2. Clemson is ranked number 3. Probably, actually, this is the most important game of this weekend. This could decide whether Clemson is getting to the playoffs or not. Do you feel like if Clemson even loses this game, that they could still make it to the playoffs?
Part of me is saying yes, but I'm gonna say no. Because they've lost one game already, and I just don't see it. Um, I just don't see that Clemson stays in the playoffs after being beat by Notre Dame 2 times. But I think it depends too on how many points they beat them by. If it's maybe a field goal, they have maybe a 40% chance for me. But if they get blown out by maybe 10, 13 points, they have zero chance for me.
Do you feel like Notre Dame, like, cause I know people saying, oh, well, Clemson was playing with their backup
Mhm.
quarterback the first time that they beat Notre Dame. I mean, sorry, the first time Notre Dame beat Clemson. Do you feel like if say if Notre Dame gets blown out, do you feel like that can take them out the playoffs?
Absolutely. I feel like a loss for either team is going to take them out. So, yeah, I would say either team if they get blown out.
Ooh, what's the key matchup in this game? It's a good game. What's the key matchup?
Key matchup, quarterback versus quarterback. Ian Book versus Trevor Lawrence. I feel whoever performs better is going to win this game.
Hmm.
I just feel like that's going to be the case. Both of them go to the passing game more than the running game. You can see in the stats, but Notre Dame does run for 235 for rushing. So I think it's just going to come back down to the offensive lines too, and how well they can block for the running backs. Travis, and I, I just hope that he does. He still gets drafted pretty good. I feel like he still could get drafted towards the end of the first round or the second round. But yeah, I just feel like he's had been having a down year. But Williams, Notre Dame, he has had 180 carries for 1,011 yards and 12 touchdowns, which is pretty good, which is pretty decent off of just 180 carries. So
So do you feel like do you feel like Clemson will use their loss early in season to Notre Dame to fuel them in this game?
yes, I just don't want them to get too cocky. If they get too cocky, a lot of teams get way too cocky and overhyped, and then when it gets into the game, they just fumble the bag. If I just don't want them to get too cocky. Ian Book was on actually. I was streaming college football, and he was on a call with like the announcers or something, just talking about their win like last week or something. Over I forget who it was, but they're just talking about that and the upcoming matchup against Clemson. He was giving a lot of respect to them, so I don't think they're gonna come in too cocky. And I feel like they're not gonna ride that. Well, I feel like they're gonna build the momentum off of that, but they're still gonna be really good. Uh, really good. They're gonna have really good sportsmanship in this one.
Mm. This is a very important game. Do you feel like last game, even though DJ played good, do you feel like it was? Do you feel like that they struggled even though DJ played good because Trevor Lawrence wasn't out there?
I don't think
Talking
it'll
about
make.
Clemson, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think it'll make too big of a difference, to be honest. They're both really good QBs. Trevor Lawrence is better by far, though. I don't really think it makes too big of a difference because I feel he still threw for like what 430 that game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
439.
430. He had zero picks, right? Zero?
Yes.
Exactly. So I don't think it made a difference. If you're throwing for that many yards in a game, I feel like Trevor Lawrence would have done the same. Maybe just been a little bit more wise and better for completion percentage. But do I think it would have changed anything? No.
Um, do you feel so? What do you think Clemson needs to do to beat Notre Dame?
It starts by locking down Ian Book. He can run. He's a dual threat. He can run. Even though he doesn't seem like he can run, he can run. And he's really mobile. He can throw on the run really easily. If you leave a guy open downfield, you're just trying to bait somebody. He can squeeze it in there in a tight window and make you pay for it. Um, he's only missed 105 passes this season, which isn't the worst, but it could be a little bit better. But Trevor Lawrence, he's been doing a bit better. But the main thing is they need to stop. They need to stop Williams in the backfield too for Notre Dame in their run game. And they need to lock up another guy. Another thing they need to rock. They need to lock up Jared McKinley, for Notre Dame. He only has 37 reception. Off those, he has sorry, not 6,000. He has 660 yards and 3 touchdowns this season, which is pretty good. They need to lock him up though too.
So what does Notre Dame need to do to beat Clemson a second time?
They just need to stick to what they did last time. They just need to stick to what they did last time. They locked up Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne he had less than 50 rushing yards that game. I remember that.
He had 28 yards.
Yeah, that was probably his career low, even in high school. Like, um, and they need they need just to lock up Rogers, Clemson's leading wide receiver and star wide receiver. He has 61 total receptions for 845 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's a really deep threat though. He doesn't really come up for short passes. So if they just play a zone, they should be fine, I think.
Do you have like a score prediction for this game? And when you do tell us the score prediction, can you tell us why you chose that score?
hmm I got the over under for this game is 60 points. I don't think it. I think it hits that actually because last game was 47-40 Notre Dame obviously. It was like 87 points in total. And both of them are very capable of scoring high scores too because they both. So Clemson averages 46 and Notre Dame averages 37.7 a game. However,
Mm-hmm.
they only allow 18.3, and that's Clemson, but Notre Dame only allows 17.1. Both of them, though, however, they allow over 300 total yards too, so that's really interesting. I just feel like one team's defense isn't gonna show up, and that's gonna be Clemson's. And I just feel like this game's gonna be a big show for Williams. I just don't know his first name. I'm sorry about that. But I feel like it's just gonna be a show for him in the backfield, and he's gonna run for like 150. I just feel like it's gonna be a show for him this game, and they're not gonna. Clemson's defense just isn't gonna show. And this game's gonna be. It's not gonna be a blowout, but it's gonna be a two-score game, and I got Notre Dame winning 35-24.
Brad, I agree with you. I do. Me too. I think this Clemson defense is not that good. If it's one team's defense is not going to show up, it's going to be Clemson's.
Yeah.
They struggled last time. You said you had Notre Dame running back running for 50 yards. I mean 150 yards.
Hmm.
That's a good take because last game they played against each other. He ran for 140 yards.
Yeah.
So that's very possible. I actually love that take, and I agree with you. I do think Notre Dame is going to win. Uh,
Hmm.
and this is going to help Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They make it to the playoffs. It'll
Oh yeah.
bump Clemson out the
If
playoffs.
they if they win this game, they're making playoffs, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Uh,
And when
speaking
was
of
the last time they actually made the playoffs? I don't even know that. That was
2018, and can you guess who they lost to?
Ohio. No. LSU? No, Clemson.
Yep, it was
Question. It's a
Clemson.
trick question. It's a trick question.
It was Clemson and was with a freshman quarterback named Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
Uh,
He had just gotten
that's
the
going to
keys
lead
after
us
Deshaun left, right?
after 2 years after. It was a year after Deshaun left. It was Kelly Bryant.
Yep.
So yeah, it was like a little gap year between those. Uh, that's gonna lead us. So is that all you got for this game?
I just gotta say this. Clemson, you just gotta bring your A game. If you don't bring your A game, bye bye, man. See you next season.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you with that one. This is gonna lead us to our next segment. We just got done talking about two Heisman quarterbacks potentially. And it's gonna lead us to our Heisman talk segment. So Brad, who do you have like a top three for your Heisman?
For my top three, I actually have a top four. My
Oh,
first
okay.
would be my top four would be. I know he's a second for a lot of people, but for me, he's first. The first wide receiver to win the Heisman is gonna be Devontae Smith. And why I think he's going to is there's no better wide receiver that has been in the last two seasons. He has been incredible these last two seasons, racking up 1,000 yards each in both of those seasons, and over 14 touchdowns, which is incredible. This season he has gotten 83 receptions for 1,327 yards and 15 touchdowns. He just I haven't seen one of these seasons from a wide receiver in a long while. What do you think about this pick?
He's actually my top choice too.
Oh,
Uh,
dope.
when I look at the stats, he was already 100 yards over what he had last season, and he
Mm-hmm.
played less games this season. He's had more touchdowns. He has more punt return touchdowns. I think he even has
And
a
can I
rushing
add something?
touchdown.
Can I add
So
something?
yeah,
And he's stepped up well. Jalen Waddle has had to step out. He's been
yup,
in rehab, and he's just been stepping up, and that's a huge factor in why he's in the running right now.
yeah. He's actually my first. He's like first on my list. Who's second on your list?
Second on my list is Mac Jones.
Okay.
Mac Jones, very, very impressive season he's pulled together. Last season he wasn't the greatest. But he did all right. He threw for 1,503 yards, 14 touchdowns and 3 picks. This season though, he's having a really good year. 3,321 yards, 27 touchdowns and 3 picks. That's really incredible. 3,321 yards is fourth in the NCAA at the moment. I believe the UCF quarterback, I forget his name, is the most at the moment.
Hmm.
If I'm right, I believe that's correct. Um, but yeah, Mac Jones has just played very, very well. I don't think he's coming back to Alabama next season. I think he's just going to the draft this season. No, don't need to risk it. Don't really need to risk getting injured and not being able to play in the NFL. So just get paid while you can.
Uh-huh. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you feel with Devontae Smith and Mac Jones both being on the same team? Do you feel like if they both have good games uh, tomorrow on Saturday, do you feel like this can affect number one and number two for the voters?
Yes. Do I kind of feel like Mac Jones is gonna do something just mean to Devontae and just not throwing the ball as much, even when he's wide open.
Mm,
I don't know, man. I'm just getting that feeling. I'm just getting that feeling. And
yeah.
I just don't think it's gonna end well in a relationship between those two. I just feel I don't know. I don't like Mac Jones. He just there's something I what's it's there's just something with his personality that just throws me off. He just seems way too cocky in himself. I know that you should have confidence in yourself, but he's really, really cocky. And I just don't like that about him.
So with the Heisman being such a quarterback loved award, do you feel like even if both of them have a good game, do you feel like they will like give that award to Mac Jones because it's such a quarterback loved award?
Uh, I think so. Even if many people would want Devontae to get it, I think they'll give it to Mac Jones too.
Yeah, Mac Jones is also second on my list too. Who is third on your list?
Justin Fields.
Ooh.
Let me guess, that's your third too.
No, Trevor Lawrence was actually my third, but tell
Wow.
me why
Okay.
Justin Fields is your third.
Even though I hate Ohio State, and I've said that a million times, um, I I sort of why I don't have him winning Heisman. He would be winning Heisman if he played a full season, but he's only played 5 games. Going to play 6 games total. Well, not 6 games because he's going to be going to the playoff if they win this game. But anyways, he's passed for 1,470 yards and 15 touchdowns, only 3 picks in 5 games, which is pretty good for 5 games in my opinion. Um, and this is obviously it's not his fault that the season wasn't the longest. He's only missed 30 passes this season, 30, which is incredible, and that just shows how that just go back to my point. That just goes back to my point how good Ohio State's offensive line is. And he's in QB rating, he is second in the league in college football right now, and I think that they're just gonna. That's why he's third in my list. I don't think he's gonna get it, but he's gonna be an honorable mention in my five, in my four. I mean,
Uh, yeah, the reason I don't have him in my top three, I'll have him in my top five because he hasn't played enough games, and that one game he
Mhm.
did play against Indiana, he struggled.
Yeah.
Uh, so he's not in my top four. Trevor Lawrence is
They,
in my.
did they
Huh?
play Iowa? Did they play
No,
Iowa this season? Dude, I swear if they would have played Iowa, that would have been a good game, honestly. My
that would have, and it would have been a good game to help in a Heisman case.
Mhm.
Uh, who's your fourth person on your list?
Zach Wilson.
What?
Zach Wilson.
Hold on, can I ask you this question?
Okay.
Why is Trevor Lawrence not on your list?
He's my fifth
Okay, okay, okay. So why is Zach Wilson ahead of him?
because he's played more games this season. Trevor Lawrence has been out what 4 games this season, right? Am
I
I
want to say
correct?
five.
Then four. It's either 4 or 5. Um, and I feel like people are underrating Zach Wilson a lot. And he's from a really unknown place, Draper, Utah. Utah is not really known for football, to be honest, that much, except for Utah is like Utah State and Utah UDs. They're not really. other parts of Utah there's just nothing out there really. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but there's just not much like there, like just like Nebraska, right? So you
Yeah.
got Lincoln, Nebraska, then cornfields, just like Shepherd, Michigan. Okay, I don't care. You guys can pull up Shepherd, Michigan, cornfields, Mount Pleasant, out of Mount Pleasant, cornfields. That's all it is. Like that's some of what it is. And that's just a really interesting thing. But anyway, sorry about getting off track.
Oh,
But
that's
some of
fine.
his 2020 season stats, he threw for 3,267 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 3 picks, which is pretty nice. He's fifth in overall passing yards and tied for second with total touchdowns passing. This year he has completed a career best 73.2% of his passes, which is really incredible. Um, and it just really shows how far he's come. His first season he threw 3 picks like this season. He didn't get as much starting time though. 2019 he actually had a down year though. Well, he had more passing yards, but he had 9 picks that year, which is wasn't the best. BYU wasn't the best that year either. This is really a breakout season for BYU, honestly. But yeah, that's why I think that's why he's my fourth.
Do you feel like his lack of playing bigger opponents hurts his Heisman?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons that he's not my one of my top like two or somewhat like into like really win it, you know. Because against Coastal Carolina, he struggled. He had a chance to win it, but he was just a yard short. Reminds me of the Tennessee versus Rams Super Bowl. Just a yard short. Um, that's what really reminded me on that play. Do I think it hurt him? Yes, because he threw, I believe, 2 picks that game. Right? I think that he threw 2 picks that game. I believe he did. But yeah, I think it really hurts him. Do I think he's 100% ready for the next level?
Yes.
I feel like he's gonna need a lot of development to be a good quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion.
Um. So I heard you had Trevor Lawrence number 5. Why do you have Trevor Lawrence number 5? Oh, you told me that. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so why? So do you feel like do you feel like Heisman voters would have him higher?
Uh, maybe a spot. That's all I'm gonna give him. I'm sorry, but that's all I'm gonna give him. He's missed too many games. If he played all 4 or 5 of those games that he missed, he would be number one or number two. Excuse me, he would be in the top two in every committee's list for Heisman. Period.
Uh, and and that's an unpopular opinion that you have him at 5 and you have
Mhm.
Wilson ahead of him. That's a shocking opinion that most people would disagree with. For me, for number 5, I had Justin Fields.
Oh, okay.
Do you feel like if Trevor Lawrence performs good against Notre Dame, since they're a top 2 team, do you feel like his Heisman candidate chief would like jump up a lot?
It depends how good of his stats are. If he passes for somewhat maybe 500 yards that game, 4 touchdowns, he could possibly win it off of that. Do it?
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he's gonna win it? In my opinion, no. Do I think that if he has a really good game, he could get in the top two and be really considered as the Heisman winner? Yes.
Um. So do you have is Ian Book somewhere in there for you?
He's probably my sixth. He's probably my sixth. He's most likely my sixth guy, to be honest. He he just I don't know. He hasn't had the most. I don't know. He hasn't had the most passing yards. He only had 1,800, I recall, I believe. And about I think it said 18 touchdowns and 3 picks, which isn't the best stats at all. So that's one of the reasons I don't have him as my in my top five.
Yeah, he's played more games than Trevor Lawrence, but I think Trevor Lawrence and him have like the same amount of touchdowns.
Yeah.
He- he's he's a very limited quarterback. He's number 4 on my list. I feel like if he upsets uh if he helps upsets Clemson, do you feel like that can like jump him up a little?
To be honest, no, I don't think so. I don't think it is because you're seeing Zach Wilson right here, 3,267 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 3 picks. If he's my number four, sorry, but yeah, my number four, I don't think he's gonna jump up to be honest. And Trevor Lawrence, he has I think over 20 touchdowns, 2,300 something yards. I just don't see it. I don't think he's gonna get 600 in a game or like I just don't see it. I don't think the stats are gonna be on par.
Mm. So is that all you got for this college football upset episode?
I do, man. That's it.
You want
Uh,
to cap it off and end it?
yeah. Before we go, I appreciate. Hey, if you haven't subscribed already, what are you doing, man? You watch this up until this point of the video, and you're just not gonna subscribe, man? Come on, use your manners, bro. Didn't your parents tell you to use manners? Come on now. Like the video, share it with a friend, share it with a close friend or family, man. And comment your picks for the week for this week in college football. Would really love to hear them and your feedback of how we did this episode. But for me and Jalen, the journalist, appreciate everybody who watches this video and that it gets to. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, man.